Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, how are you doing this morning? You in good health? You feel secure? Let's talk a little bit. So the next term we're going to discuss from Buddhism Reference is the three Dharma periods, the three Dharma divisions of the Dharma. You could say this different ways. Yes, I know Tendai, as far as the lifetime of Shakyamuni's teachings, divided it into 5 periods. I'm not disputing that at all. This is a different terminology regarding the ages and, quite frankly, the earlier definitions before Tendai of the levels of teaching from early to middle to fully realized Mahayana. It's described differently, but that's why we're going to talk about it. And I think one of the things that we'll have the opportunity to talk about is how to recognize this age that we are in, and how Shakyamuni saw this future age, thousands of years after his passing, to be the challenge that we've all learned that it is. What does he mean by that? So we'll get into it. So here we go. The 3 periods of Buddhist teachings and practice, or the Dharma. But understand, and I've said this before, Dharma, the word Dharma really signifies the experience of the teachings, the practice, the whole thing. A lot of people take Dharma to be just a word or a transliteration of teaching, but it isn't simply that. It's as you've heard me say before, we are our own teachers, yes? To be a teacher is kind of it's a slippery language thing. Really, any teacher is someone who shares their insights and knowledge with you, right? And that's good. We all need that. But that's not really a teacher. That could be a mentor, that could be a facilitator, that could be many other words we could use. But the teacher is you. Because how you listen, how you hear, how you apply those insights and what you learn, it's all on you. And this is, I bring this up not because I'm that picky about English, although but it's key to understanding what Buddhism is teaching. Buddhism is offering an insight into how the mind works. Your mind, my mind. Always start from that premise. All right, mouth is a little sticky today. Oh, that's so hot. All right. A way of schematicizing Buddhist history that arose in China during the period of disunity following the fall of the Han Dynasty in the early 3rd century. This is hundreds of years before Tendai, or Qi. According to this teaching, the history of Buddhism divides into 3 periods: the true Dharma, the counterfeit Dharma, and the final Dharma, or sometimes, as Shakyamuni called it, the pure Dharma. Yeah. So the true Dharma, first, is the age of the true Dharma, which lasts 500 or 1,000 years. You see, it's already not sure which it is. I would say 3 periods would be 1,000 years for each period. That would be 3,000 years. That would make sense to you and I. But to the early teachings of 3rd century China, there were also known to be divisions of 500 years. Obviously, Ji and or Tendai cleared that up. Yes, there were 500-year periods. However you do the math, though, let's not let that get in the way of our understanding these divisions. This is the age right after the death of a Buddha. When the teaching is vigorous, people are capable of comprehending it and putting it into practice, and many attain enlightenment, or Bodhi, under their own power. So this is to say, soon, for 500 or 1,000 years, the death of Shakyamuni Buddha, or in this case, a Buddha, has a very strong imprint on the society, the culture, and so people are very motivated to practice. Basically what it is. Now the counterfeit Dharma, and I'll read this definition here, and I'll probably have my own additions as usual. Second is the age of counterfeit Dharma, or semblance Dharma. Semblance Dharma. Looks like but isn't. Right? A better word, I think. Counterfeit seems to sound like, it can be misleading. But that's not the intent with which it was taught. It was taught as a semblance Dharma, right? The story, the parable of the conjured city that we read in the Lotus Sutra. It's all about this semblance Dharma, in which the true teachings become obscured and only a semblance of it exists. At this time, which again lasts for 1,000 years, or 500, depending on the source, only a few people of great intelligence are able to grasp the doctrine correctly and attain enlightenment. That's not to say that everyone else is stupid. See, again, language, intelligence. I would prefer the word insight to intelligence in this case. Yeah. So as I've said before, and while we were discussing my annotations on the Lotus Sutra, right, the TLK Threefold Lotus Dharma Sutra book with all my annotations in it. I talk about this in the series of videos if you watch those. The semblance Dharma was taught because there was some disunity in the ranks of the Sangha, which was immense by that time, yeah? And some were getting tired and thinking, well, we know all we need to know. We don't need to go on. Hell, several arhats got up in the middle of the Lotus Sutra, or the beginning of the Lotus Sutra, and said, we know enough. We don't need to hear any more from you, Shakyamuni. And they left. Talk about arrogance, yeah? So, rather than lose all of these students, monks, followers, who were working so hard, so diligently toward enlightenment, Shakyamuni provided them with an immediate goal, something within their grasp, so that they felt some big accomplishment in their practice and they wouldn't drop it altogether, right? And hopefully, over the years, they would train toward this semblance Dharma as though it were the end goal, and it would come to them with their own insights. Oh, this isn't the full picture. We go beyond this. I get it. Now I have renewed energy, and I can work toward complete and perfect enlightenment. Please, Shakyamuni, Share that with us. We're ready. But that didn't happen a whole lot. Most people were content to simply achieve what was within their reach. Humanity, yeah? Naturally lazy. So, in the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni says, okay, the gloves are off now. You guys have been practicing this semblance Dharma long enough. You should have realized that it was incomplete. So now I need you to get off your butts and really work toward this. You know it's there. You've been practicing the semblance Dharma long enough to know this isn't a non-achievable goal. You have to know this by now. So here's how you do it, fully. And that's what the Lotus Sutra is, yeah? So, the final Dharma is the third age in which we are in. The people's capacity were feeble, and the teachings were lost. We'll read more about that. This period is to last, typos. Thanks again, Melly Mel. You're a big part of this. Come on, you sticker. Oh, that's a bad typo. Okay. It's to last for 10,000 years, during which the Dharma declines. And it declines because people are lazy. Well, that's what this says. But I would add to that, or say to that, it's not so much that we're lazy, it's that we're so constantly distracted, right? And I'm not going to pin everything on social media. Come on. We're constantly distracted by our cravings and clingings. What's the latest this? What's the latest that? Who's the most hot? Who's not? Blah, 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 blah. We have so much variety and change going on in our lives constantly. How do you focus? How do you stay a course? Or in Buddhist terms, a path. It's like trying to find a path in the middle of an airport tarmac. Yeah, it's just tarmac everywhere. All right. Many Buddhists in Asia during the medieval period felt that this age was either imminent or had already arrived. The resulting loss of resolve, commitment, determination, confidence in traditional practices and teachings as a means of gaining liberation led to the popularization of new modes of practice that relied more on the power of an already enlightened Buddha, in the case of Pure Land Buddhism, or a text in Nichiren Buddhism for liberation. In the Sutra of the Great Assembly, the three periods are further divided into 500-year periods. Here we go. The fifth and last of which was prophesied to be when the Buddhism of Shakyamuni Buddha would lose all power of salvation or liberation, and a new Buddha would appear to save the people. This time period would be characterized by unrest. There's what last count was 165 wars going on the planet right now. Strife, famine, and natural disasters. The three periods are significant to Mahayana adherents, particularly those who hold the Lotus Sutra in high regard, namely the Tendai and Nichiren Buddhism, who believe that different Buddhist teachings are valid, i.e., able to lead practitioners to enlightenment in each period due to the different capacity to accept a teaching. of the people born in each respective period, right? The time and the capacity of the people. Traditionally, this age, the latter day of the Dharma, is supposed to begin 2,000 years after Shakyamuni Buddha's passing and last for 10,000 years more. Shakyamuni, in the Sutra of Great Assembly, describes the latter day of the Dharma as the age of conflict, when quarrels and disputes will arise among the adherents to my teachings, and the pure Dharma will become obscured and lost. In this evil latter age, when society is disordered, Shakyamuni's Buddhism will lose its power to benefit the people, as people born into the latter day of the Dharma do not have the seed of Buddhahood sown into them. Let's take a moment and think about what that means. It's not that we don't have the capacity to practice this Buddhism. I have already defined Tathagata as the potential for Buddha. But the potential is nothing without instantiation. The potential must be worked upon, right? What do we have? Potential, formations, and instantiation. So what of Tathagatahood is formations to you and I? In order for us to reach our innate Buddhahood requires effort, commitment, resolve. Those are the elements, the forces, the energies required to transform, to form from potential Buddhahood. That's why we practice. Our practice is formation. Right? When we chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, we invoke, we dedicate energy, confidence toward our Buddha potential, which is always there, but unless we call it forth, right? It doesn't occur. It just stays ready. Potential. It's like, I can use an analogy from martial arts that because we're essentially physical beings, always capable of some kind of violence. But in martial arts, when I used to teach martial arts, I would explain Jin, or the movement of Qi, energy in the body. And in order for a strike to be effective, it first starts with a thought, volition, a dedication of commitment of energies, Qi, directing that Qi to activate muscles, tendons, blood flow, energy throughout a certain set of muscles and energies to extend an arm, and as in Tai Chi, Chuan is the making of the fist. Tai Chi is the willful direction of energy, and Jin is the expression of that energy, right? If any of you studied martial arts. So you could simply physically use your muscles and your intent to make a fist and punch. But if you're thinking from terms of Tai Chi Chuan, in other words, moving energy throughout your body in order to express that energy, now it's not about your fist hitting something, it's about the energy of that manifest in that fist being thrown out. And so it protects your hand, your fist, your whatever your foot from being injured, because it expresses the energy rather than trying to embody the energy. See, the same division is in martial arts. Many of you may not know that. But here it shows us that thinking is inculcated here, right? So when we chant, we express with our body a dedication of mind to experience Dharma, Buddhahood. All right, let's go on. According to the interpretation of Nichiren doctrine, in the Lotus Sutra, Japanese Myoho Renge Kyo, Shakyamuni Buddha entrusted the propagation of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the Dharma to the Bodhisattva named superior practices, or Jogyo Bosatsu, right? The leader of the Bodhisattvas of the earth. Shakyamuni predicted in the 21st chapter of the Lotus Sutra that Bodhisattva Jogyo, the ephemeral figure of the original Buddha, would appear in the latter day of the Dharma, dispel the fundamental darkness of all mankind, and lead people to attain enlightenment. Well, they're word salad, right? But what does that mean? It means that at some point there will be, because truth is truth, at some point in this mess of everybody going every which way to satisfy their immediate desires instead of focused ultimate accomplishment, desire, embodiment, expression of Buddha, right? There has to come someone with the insights to lead people appropriately to their maximal potential. This has to happen. It just has to happen. And as so many times in the stories of Buddhism, these are assigned personages, like the Bodhisattvas of the earth, which is simply you and I, right? Future peoples coming from beneath the earth. We are born like the lotus flower into the future, which is now. And as those bodhisattvas of the earth who are trying to practice Buddhism correctly, of us, one will lead. One, not necessarily a singular one, but leaders will come about. And of those leaders, there will be a percentage of those with deep enough insights that they will lead us through the miasm and myriad, what did he say? Conflicts, arguments, right? Look at the sects, look at the groups. And it's easy if you know what Shakyamuni is teaching in the Lotus Sutra. Nichiren, thank you, Nichiren. Then anyone who, any group, any sect who deviates even a little from what we read directly from Nichiren, well, we know that they're deluded, that they're misleading. Doesn't mean they won't have a lot of adherents, right? They make conveniences and concession to people's cravings and clingings simply for what they would deem corporate success. But that's not success in Buddhism. Success is singular in Buddhism. It's your enlightenment. It's her enlightenment. It's my enlightenment. Our enlightenment, an excellent thing, but it's done individually. And this is how we coalesce into a sangha, a presence that influences governments, right? Peoples. We have the capacity for this. No argument there. But there's a lot of delusion out there that we have to withstand and correct. How do we correct it? By keeping our practice pure, right? And this is what it says here, dispel fundamental darkness. Fundamental darkness is that ignorance, not knowing the correct path of all mankind, and lead the people to attain enlightenment. It's no wonder Nichiren saw an echo of this teaching in his own life. The Nichiren school of Buddhism believes that Nichiren Shonin is a votary of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the Dharma. And so did he. Shakyamuni declared that the votary of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the Dharma would be spoken ill of and cursed. Yeah, because jealousy, it's like worn on everybody's sleeves today. Everybody wants to be number one. If you are number one, watch out. A lot of people are going to be looking to dethrone you, right? Just for the sake of dethroning. No, it's me, I know. They would be wounded with swords and staves and pelted with stones and tiles and again banished. Well, did not Nichiren live through exactly this? Bodhisattva Nichiren's action matched the prediction that Shakyamuni Buddha taught. They cite the Izu and Sado exile again and again banished, and the Tatsunokuchi persecution where the government attempted to execute the Nichiren, wounded by swords and staves, for propagating Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Throughout Japan, Bodhisattva Nichiren proved he was the personification of one of the leaders of the Bodhisattvas of the earth, Jogyo, a votary of the Lotus Sutra, by living the Lotus Sutra with his very life. There it is again. And yes, I noticed that typo. Furthermore, when viewed from the standpoint of his ephemeral or transient shaku identity and his external functions, Nichiren is defined as the personification of Bodhisattva superior practices, or Jogyo Bodhisattva. So there you have it. A discussion of the three periods leads us directly to Nichiren and his incredible insights. We owe a lot to Nichiren. And with that, I thank you deeply for your practice and your commitment to it. Please take care of your health so you can continue to practice. Please continue to support this Sangha in every way you can. Every one of us appreciates it, no one more than me, because it keeps me rolling on here. So thank you. And I will see you in the next blah, blah, blah. Okay. Have a great day. Bye for now.